because I think that is all of us are in the same room. We have to go. We will go down. Okay. Lots of folks are here. Everybody is here.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me better?
I think so.
Okay.
Is that better?
Is it better to hear like this?
Yes.
Great.
This is perfect.
So the idea behind was to promote Rajivan's work, obviously, and he's well known as a composer and a sound artist in Luxembourg, and less known as a visual artist. He's been relentlessly drawing for the last 8 years. So the amount of work, the body of work is really, I mean, he will tell you all the content and the nuance of what he draws and how he draws and the connection to the sound. And I thought that after so many years, it was really important to for people to access it and to promote this side of his creation and his need to express what he does in music and in visual arts, crossing over these two disciplines. And he's also been conducting these open drawing sessions in Luxembourg, which have been going on for a few years, and some of the work is actually a result of these sessions. So a lot of people also came here because of this activity that was regularly offered once a month. And I thought it was a really beautiful way to invite people in the studio. And yes, and then also to promote Vedanza as a space for not just dance. We have been doing more dance and music and performing arts events, and this is one first exhibition of mainly the visual work, and we had some artists organizing some exhibits here, and we thought that it's time for the space to really blossom and promote this transdisciplinarity that we have in our work. So I'm really honored that we did this, and I hope that you enjoy the beautiful work. Thanks.
Okay, great, wonderful. So Manoj, do you think we can get Rajivan to show?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Rajiv.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. So, so do you want to introduce the show, or you want to say something, or you want to just show us straight away, do a walkthrough?
I can just take you through the place. See, this is the main room. Yeah, no, this place is a dance practicing floor, and it's a 11 meter by 10 meter space with one side complete mirror. This side is completely mirror. And we never thought about presenting the work in such a place. My studio is upstairs. There are 2 rooms. One is for the sound, and one I use it for various kinds of things, like anything what I want to do. I have been working from this studio for the last, I think, 7, 8, or 9 years, and I never thought about putting up work like this. One of the prime reasons is that I think I was mostly drawing in doing this activity to think about something else that is related to sound or that related to sensorial stuff. There was a point I was getting so physically very tired with the headphones having here and listening, because I do a lot of field recording. And I found it so tiring because the body gets so stiff, since the microphone has to be kept in a very delicate way. And also, you cannot really disturb many people. So our body gets really so tense in that sort of process. So to get a relief from this, perhaps that is the time I began drawing. Because when I get into my room and draw, I can hear my body is free and I can do anything. I don't have to worry about anything getting spoiled. So that's how all this work mainly happens. And here I have two kinds of work here. One is this large work. This is 1 meter by 1.5 meter. I began doing this only maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. And this sort of work, I spent maybe many days to work, as opposed to something that decide or to see all this. These are for me durations. I don't even know how to title them because there is a duration of time I spend on this continuously, like somebody is playing a live musical work. And the moment I get out, that is the stop of the work. I never went back and drew on top of it or any of this stuff. And these are all, we arranged it not in a sequential way. We arranged, Manoj and Kiran came to help me, and they helped me a lot in terms of arranging the work. And so this is one of the recent monoprint which it's interesting the way I was engaged in this activity. I was having a talk with Manoj and his brother at night around 12 o'clock. We talked for almost 2 hours. At that time, some point I want to do something. So I set up my monoprint printing table, a glass plate. And then while I was talking, I began working on a set of monoprints. Started with this. Actually, I started with, sorry, I want to show this. This is the one I started. A photograph of a sculpture was in my computer screen. That something that I really uh, like to look at it, and I find it gazing at that. The head is very nice. So I started drawing on the other side and getting this print on this side. Then I also realized that I don't want to see what I'm drawing. So all the other rest of the monoprints, while I was drawing, I have no clue how it's going to appear, but I'm looking at an object or I'm looking at a place or I'm thinking about some stuff and drawing without seeing it. And it's like sometimes it's like the way I do sound recording today because I don't put the headphones with me. I set up the mic in certain way, take a reference, and after that I get free from this headphone being in my head. And that gives me a curiosity to go back to the studio and listen to the sound again. That first time when I am listening at the studio, that is the recorded listening. While I am at the location, when I'm hearing, I have nothing to do with the recording. I'm just a listener moving around and standing with. The same principle which I started using it, taking drawing as just an activity. Somebody is engaged in this. Then I started working with the definite durations. This work, it's charcoal and basically charcoal. I made actually a frame and then working. But what I was thinking was there is a very interesting piece by Cage for 4 minutes 33 seconds. It's a very landmark piece in the history of music. I just thought I will work with this 4 minutes 33 durations, a certain work. Means like the way the pianist come and sit and do the work, I just set up and I began doing, and I put the watch onto alarm clock on 4 minutes 33 seconds. And a series of work like this. Somehow I like this so much because this was making me remember. While I was drawing, I was 4 minutes or something, it quickly came as my last house where I lived. And the flat, the lounge, a lot of objects. I started just working on this and that. Then there are some little work, like again, these are not worked for many days. There is about 1 hour, 2 hours of work, continuously work, and I get out. Then after that, I pack it, and all these drawings were packed in my studio like coffin boxes, I would say. I mean, a lot of artists will do that. When you go to the studio, we see a lot of coffin like stuff boxes packed. They don't even look at this after the work. And this is one of the very recent drawing, and it's I put when I was drawing this. This was drawn on a table. I put microphones, three microphones there, tiny microphones that I have, and I started drawing in such a way, and I also had a headphone to listen to the sound. So a lot of patterns like these, all this creates actually a lot of sounds like. So see, that's sort of the soundscape I'm working with, and I left my windows open so I hear a lot of other stuff. And drawing becomes, in that sort of process, it's become a very obsessive procedure for me. So I didn't know how much I was drawing. That's what perhaps Emanuela was saying. When she came to the room about 4 or 5 days ago, when she saw the large set of drawings, I was so happy to look at her face because she was so surprised. And that surprise is also, I felt actually good because she felt very, the trust that she has given me, she felt very happy about it. She hasn't seen these drawings, so she don't come to my studio, and very occasionally she come there. She knows that I go to the studio. She doesn't know what I do there. So all this work, when she started seeing it, it was quite nice. At least one person uh, seeing the work. This this work is actually a bit of fun because while I was doing it, quickly somewhere I started thinking about uh, some of the people who really inspired me, opened up uh, I think the view towards maybe drawing. That is, one is Ramu's, because we were quite close friends at the NIT. And then there is another artist, Madhu. And at that time, I never used to draw because I was so scared to draw. Because their drawings, I mean, Madhu's drawing, I look at it, but it makes me really very difficult to actually have the courage to get into an attack actually, paper. But when I started to draw, when my son was born, we started doing a lot of drawing, and that really gave me a lot of freestyle work, and that really released me a lot. This often happens in improvised music. There is no very definite style or anything. I'm talking about absolutely free improvised music, which I am interested in it, completely taking out of the context of music. So when we perform, it's an actually intuition of memory or access. How do you access? When I'm playing, sometimes I remember some songs from Kerala. I don't give a delay. Sing. Means I don't think, I play. Same thing. I may hear somebody like, let's say, some guitar player or somebody playing percussion like. I try to mimic them, or I try to recreate them. So there are various kinds of styles which you get it within that period of live improvisation. These styles may not have any connection to each other. But that's how they appear in my head as a memory. Then there's quite a lot of, I don't, it's very difficult to talk about each work. So I'll just take you around. Yeah, this is another work which I was trying with a different paper because sometimes we need to really do quite a lot of hard work on the surface. And but paper doesn't take this. The paper cannot resist some of the materials. So then I got actually a special kind of paper. This is normally you use it for packaging, and it has quite a lot of layers to peel off and all this stuff. So this is a work which is basically interaction with all that quality of the paper and the properties of the paper and charcoal and dry pastels. This one and yeah. See, these are all the variations of the same head that you saw somewhere, and these are all variation of the monoprints. These two especially. Actually, these two heads. I was looking at a sculpture of Krishnama's head, uh, and it's. I was gazing at it and drawing it, and I once the drawing was finished, and I also felt actually really nice to keep it and work further. So I worked further on it with the charcoal and then artificial charcoal, colored charcoals. Some of them are like, yeah, it's a lot. This might have taken actually from morning till evening. I was working on this, but very some obsessive way of drawing, very slowly moving hands, and the speed is the same. I use the same speed for each line, and nobody is seeing it, but I know that if somebody sees it, it could be like a performance because it's there is. I also deliberately change the speed of my hand in a very exaggerated. So it's like a child. I play. I like to play with it, like the improvise music side. I quite often think that I'm more of a musician than maybe a visual artist because musicians they spend so much time practicing, and they may not get concert or may not have any place to play, but they get up in the morning and they practice. They spend hours and hours on practicing or things, and I think I'm taking more or less the same kind of procedure. I never thought I would present the work like this. In the initial time I worked, I spent so much time just working, drawing based on. I like the drawings of Deben Khan, and at least I used to like. So this is actually a Deben Khan small drawings, which I redrew it in completely a different way. This is the chair that we have at home. There's one more chair like this. Initially, there was a plan to present that chair as well, but that chair hasn't finished because it's got destroyed completely. And I began making a musical instrument with exactly without even adding anything additional, but reorganizing all the stuff, attaching strings and a lot of things, and a chair that turned into a musical instrument, but it doesn't sound. It only looks. It gives you memory of the musical instrument. So, and we may quickly go to that place. Yeah.
9 minutes.
Yeah. 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, these are these are, I would say, mechanical drawings. I made some special tools like, see, these are tools. There is motor here and brush head, and there are various kinds of things to make lines. So passing through the drawing. Passing through the drawing, and then small video that you will see here. Look closer, perhaps. This is one of my. It's quite an old drawing. I might have done this maybe 11, 12 years ago. This is the only drawing that I kept before 2017. Somehow, this is the view from my home in Kottayam, childhood place. And two people who recognize this is my brother and my sister, because we used to see this every day from the kitchen. We can see this image, and there's no photograph, so I decided to try to recall each and every thing that I can remember. Then, okay, we can quickly take the upstairs now. This is the working place, which I changed for putting up the stuff. I took out a lot of things from here. This guitar was in my studio for almost, I think, more than a decade, broken. And there were quite a lot of wooden pieces that I collected from my daughter's cradle and a broken sarod. So all these things I put together, and it has a logic, the musical logic, the morphology of the instrument is very close to the kora. That is a kora is a symmetric harp that you hold it like this, and then you pluck. A kora, somebody who knows how to play kora, they will play very well, because I have a friend here, an African musician. He comes here, he's the one who plays this kora quite well, because he knows how to play kora. There is a crazy room that I would like to just quickly show you. That is, yeah. This is more or less the place where I work with the sound. And so various kinds of things are here. Yeah, this paper was used for actually a choreographic performance piece by Emanuela. She's the one who found this paper. They put this paper on the floor of the dance floor. There were paints dripping from the top of the theater. And after the floor, they were tearing out the stuff. This same kind of action, I did it perhaps in my room, in my studio, in order to get somewhat similar to this, peeling off things, dripping things from up, or just slapping paints on the surface. So when you peel off, there are unexpected the patterns of things coming from the second layer, third layer.
I don't see anybody.
We're all here.
One of the things that I've been curious about your work is the relationship between the sound work that you do and your drawings. I remember you once described how a performer makes certain circular movements when drumming, and the way they make those movements actually defines the rhythm or even say the pace of the drumming that they create. I remember in a similar way you're talking about how a cameraman in the old days when they used box cameras would take off the lens cap and make a certain movement with the lens cap. And in fact, that movement that they made actually defined the length of the exposure. I wonder whether your movements as you draw actually how they connect or how they relate to the textures that you create. Whether in fact your movements themselves are recorded in that process as certain type of textural patterns or certain kind of rhythmic patterns on the piece of paper.
Yeah. When we scribble on a paper, when we do a lots of, if you hear the sound, it's
But is it also in a certain sense?
Yeah.
That
The sound works or artworks that you are creating are secondary kind of recordings of the direct movements and the patterns that you're making with your own body.
But isn't that the same thing happen when we play an instrument?
yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of movements things. I think I get quite a lot of inspiration from Emanuela's work, and we talk quite a lot about movement and dance and performances and all the stuff at home. So perhaps when I'm drawing, I may apply or try to apply any of this stuff just for the fun of doing it.
Rajivan, do you have your large drawing of Ayyappan in the small room? It's still there?
Yeah, it's still there. We're going to see.
I mean, I love that piece. I don't know if would like to show that.
I can. You mean this one?
Yes.
I think 50 by 70 centimeters. Yeah.
Very nice piece. Yeah.
I also like it so much. So I put it on the studio. This drawing. I've done it when Esteban was about 7 or 8 years old. I realized that I can't draw like this anymore. So because when I look at the lines and the confidence of the curves and all this, impossible for me to draw like this. Because one single line, it took, I don't know how I got this. Ramu remembers. Do you remember Jerry ML, they were talking about discipline and
it was a fantastic interview.
But I understand that. I was telling somebody that 60 years I did music or maybe sound, and it's like, I can divorce anytime. So now I'm going to get into something else, drawing. Maybe that's how this drawing came out.
But do you actually compartmentalize like that, or it's just it's not a deliberate act of now this, not that, right? It's more of a fluid.
No. It's see, one can completely detach from the activity that one is doing, like physical activity. I'm saying I don't have a recorder, I don't have a headphone, I don't have a microphone, or I don't have a musical instrument, but these are the objects that makes somebody recognize that, oh, he is either a musician or a sound recordist or something. But if you have a pen and pencil in your hand and actually a large set of objects that you're going to actually do, very rarely people identify that person as a musician.
Yeah.
Actually, this is according to me, this is the open gate that sound art actually really offered to people like us. Because there's always this notion that to do music, you need to know how to sing, or you need to have a sense of time, or you need to have a lovely voice, or you need to be disciplined. This is music. That kind of system made a lot of people not to do music. And these virtual instruments that we have today, that opens up actually a tremendous amount of musicians, composers who can't sing, who has no sense of traditional music. So I think maybe I like to forget. It's so difficult to forget the musical logic that I have learned from five years, especially music like South Indian music. Rigorous training, it goes inside. It's so difficult to break from that.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's like a European harmonic thinking. It's very difficult to once you learn the harmonic theory of music. It's very difficult to actually break it. And they established that harmonic thinking worldwide in a way. It's like it's actually a different kind of colonization with the theory. And if you look at Indonesian music, African music, they are playing with the materials, and the sound of the material is more important, not the harmonic theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so, yeah.
Something about what you're saying about fluidity that happens because of lack of compartmentalization, because and also the freedom of not needing to conform to creating an object that is again less transactional thing, because the minute it becomes transactional, then you will start trying to box it into certain norms, because that's what makes it transactional. I was listening recently, we had a Puram near our house, and there was this Charma Pata, in a lot of ways that was an original rap music, and I was listening closely to the words, and then I was told that no one piece will sound the same the next time, because it's so responsive to that particular moment or immediacy of some trigger or something that provokes a set of words to come together in a set of rhythm that comes together. It's quite
Actually, there in Indian music, especially in South Indian music, there is a fantastic term that the term that I love, and I think I practice to a certain extent. This is called Manodharma Sangeetam. This Manodharma Sangeetam is in West, maybe outside. In English, a general translation is improvised music. But actually, improvised music, Manodharma Sangeetam, can go beyond. If Manodharma Sangeetam can beyond, in a sense, I can decide what is music for me. But since we fall into a system of music and practice this Manodharma Sangeetam, then of course, a Carnatic music, you have to do Manodharma Sangeetam within that Carnatic music system, all the theories that there are. But I can also be actually an independent musician. I don't know anything about any music. What my mind tells me with some kind of conviction, I do it. And I have the freedom to do it. So that is also quite a nice way to interpret that sort of discipline, Manodharma Sangeetam. You and me were once asking somebody else, what could be the real another version of Manodharma Sangeeta translation? No? I think somebody told Baiju that poetic justice. So then we were saying that, can we take this justice out from here? If Baiju there, if you could actually, he will tell you much about this talk maybe sometime later.
Hey, Rajivan, you are doing Manodharmam now.
Baiju, do you remember that poetic justice? Yes.
This is all Manodharmam. Hey, can you show us the main room again?
Main room.
Yeah. Would like to hear more about the work here.
See, I place this in such a way that when someone comes, they go like this. I bought the wood, and it cost, I bought it, most of the things I bought it from Chinese product. And I thought I will maybe encourage the Chinese market a little bit.
So is the show open right now?
Yeah, it's open. Last night at 6 o'clock, it opened. Quite a lot of people were there. I had to come here at 10 o'clock to open this place. Some of my friends are here already. They came to see. And I wouldn't mind actually getting a nice sleep tonight.
Rajivan, at one time you were working on the iPad also, right? You were working on some digital stuff also?
I sometimes I do it, but the feel, I don't like the surface and the feel. iPad doesn't, first of all, it doesn't give you any sound. The paper, based on the texture of the paper or the material surface, I do quite a lot of just sitting in the bus. Sometimes if I'm taking a bus, I think either phone or iPad, I'll just try to, do something, but I don't really enjoy that. And also this gadget trapped in the hand, and we are stuck. So I prefer actually moving around physically, And this one little tablets in the hand and sitting there and drawing, I think it's not even like a sketch, a notebook or sketchbook. It has a different feel. No? Is that what you were asking?
Yeah. I just wanted to hear what you had to say. Could you also have a look at those color stuff that you have? You have a few color pieces which we didn't clearly see.
Yeah.
There's a mostly dry paste, is it?
Yeah. This is a drawing that I done it after the tiny pieces that I done from 4 in the morning till 10. The first piece, it's the later I worked on it. This one, and then.
What medium is this?
Yeah, this is not exactly the dry pastels and also watercolors, but I applied actually. I made a canvas like with the plaster Paris, and I scratched all this stuff before, and I can still scratch it because the material is almost like plastered material, both of them.
So this is a pastel and charcoal, is it?
These are pastel, artificial charcoal with colored charcoal, no?
That's really nice.
Rajivan, why you are not using titles?
I don't know what to title, Baiju. That's why, because
Okay.
I really don't know. I mean, I'm sure we can write any title on this. Put this, but frankly, I don't know how to title it. If I have to title, I will do maybe the duration as a title, and I think the duration is the context for me.
Rajivan, what is the longest drawing?
Yeah, this one. I got bored with this. This is the longest time I took. I might have taken at least a month in and out, in and out, in and out. Yeah, I mean, see, that sort of activity, it bores me because we fall into the habits of composition, colors, and very critical judgment. And our idea of all this composition and color and all this stuff is very high because we have seen masters working very beautifully with that. And I have a lack of skill perhaps to do it. So I don't like when we are working, we're getting anxious.